Take it down, now! Harder! Attack it from all sides! Don't stop! Finish it!
The oak was 140 years old, planted in 1884 by the original landowner, 3 feet in diameter at the base. And on a Thursday afternoon in April, I watched from my kitchen window as 6 men cut it down in 42 minutes. The woman directing them wore white tennis shoes and a visor. She was smiling. She pointed at the stump and said something I couldn't hear. The lead chainsaw operator nodded. He pulled the cord again. My name is Walter Grayson. I'm a 60-year-old landscape architect and arborist. I've spent the last 35 years keeping trees alive in southeastern Ohio. I've never planted one that wasn't meant to live longer than I would. That oak was planted before the Civil War ended. And in April of 2024, someone's wife decided it was blocking her pool view. What I did next didn't happen overnight. It took patience. And it cost her community $2.3 million in drainage infrastructure repair. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me tell you about the tree first. I bought the 5-acre lot outside Dublin, Ohio in 1988. I was 24 years old. I had just finished my degree in landscape architecture at Ohio State, and I'd saved $12,000 from 3 summers working as a groundskeeper at Muirfield Village Golf Club. The property was what realtors call challenging. 2 acres of mature hardwood forest. 1 acre of overgrown pasture. 2 acres of wetland that nobody wanted because it flooded every spring. There was a 1970s ranch house on the north side that needed everything. The price was $68,000. It was all the money I had. The old oak stood at the center of the property. I built the house around that tree. The oak was the anchor. It was the reason I bought the place. It was the reason I stayed. I met my wife Margaret at a landscape design conference in Columbus in 2001. We were married for 19 years. She died of a cerebral aneurysm in March of 2020. The oak was the only thing I could look at without feeling like I was drowning. In May of 2021, the development company bought the adjacent property to the north. The property that sold was a 50-acre parcel that had once been a working farm. A Columbus-based development company called Westbrook Properties bought it for $2.8 million. Their plan was a gated residential community with luxury homes, a private amenities center, and a resort-style pool complex. The pool complex was the centerpiece. 32 families. $850 a month in HOA fees. The development broke ground in June of 2021. They needed drainage management because the entire property sloped south toward my land. A project manager named Derek Brennan approached me about a drainage easement. The proposal was reasonable. I signed it in good faith. By the summer of 2023, the development was nearly complete. That's when I met Patricia Chin. Patricia Chin was 51 years old. Her husband was a hedge fund manager. She bought the crown jewel lot in the development. $1 million property. From her terrace she could see the oak. And she hated it. She claimed it blocked her view. That it was a safety hazard. None of that was true. The truth was simple. The oak was beautiful. And her money couldn't buy it. She got herself elected HOA president. Then the complaints started. Letters. Threats. Code violation reports. The city inspected my property again and again. Every report came back the same. No violations found. My property was exemplary. Patricia didn't stop. She was building a record. And I knew exactly what she was doing. So I called my daughter Claire, a civil hydrologist, and I asked her to look into the development's drainage permits. Claire arrived with survey equipment and a serious expression. We examined the detention basin, the drainage outfalls. What she found was troubling. The development had approval for a Phase 2 pool expansion. But there were no amendments to the stormwater permits. No updated detention calculations. Nothing. If the expansion went forward, the drainage system would be inadequate. During major rain events, overflow would be pushed directly into my wetland. Directly toward the oak. Eventually the tree would die. Or be declared a hazard and removed. Either way the oak would be gone. Then Claire found something else. Patricia Chin wasn't just the HOA president. She was connected to the development company itself. She had a financial interest in the expansion. And if the oak disappeared, property values increased. She would profit. That's when we decided to document everything. From March through August of 2024 we built our case. Monitoring stations. Drone footage. Water samples. Photographs. GPS surveys. Game cameras. Every rain event was documented. Every gallon of water was recorded. By August, the expanded pool complex was operating. The data showed discharge volumes rising dramatically. The detention basin was already struggling. Claire studied the numbers. The conclusion was unavoidable. The system wasn't designed to handle the expansion. And sooner or later, someone would try to push the excess water onto my property. We waited. September arrived wet. The first storm tested the system. The overflow pipes ran. A second storm pushed it harder. The third storm nearly broke it. Hundreds of thousands of gallons poured into my wetland. The oak stood surrounded by water. Claire studied the discharge graphs. Something wasn't right. The flow patterns looked deliberate. Not natural overflow. Controlled release. Someone was opening valves. Someone was directing water onto my property. We needed help. So Claire went to the city. Claire met with the planning director. She brought the data, the calculations, the evidence. She explained that the expansion wasn't properly permitted, and that my property was being intentionally flooded. The planning director reviewed everything. Then he ordered an audit. Formal documentation requests were sent to Westbrook Properties. Patricia fought back immediately. But this time the evidence was stronger than the excuses. And then Claire made another call. A call to the EPA. An EPA enforcement officer listened carefully. The situation involved unpermitted stormwater modifications. That meant potential federal jurisdiction. An investigator named Robert Ching arrived. He inspected the detention basin. He reviewed the monitoring data. He examined the permits. His conclusion was clear. The system was undersized. The expansion wasn't properly permitted. And the overflow events appeared intentional. A federal investigation began. Patricia Chin had no idea what was coming. The final storm arrived at the end of September. Nothing unusual. Just ordinary rain. But by morning the detention basin was overflowing again. Water poured into my wetland. Claire and I watched from the porch. Then EPA investigator Robert Ching arrived. The monitoring station had triggered an alert. We showed him the game camera footage. A maintenance worker approached the discharge valves. He opened them deliberately. Full volume. Straight toward my property. Straight toward the oak. Robert watched the footage twice. Then he looked at us and said, "That's intentional property flooding." And with that, everything changed. Within hours, federal investigators were involved. The discharge was shut down. Statements were taken. Violations were issued. The financial consequences were staggering. Environmental remediation. Civil penalties. Property damage claims. Millions of dollars. The detention system was eventually removed and redesigned. Without it, water followed its natural path. The development suffered severe drainage problems. Sinkholes. Foundation damage. Structural failures. Patricia lost her HOA position. Westbrook Properties filed for bankruptcy. And the people responsible faced legal consequences. All because they thought they could force water to ignore gravity. The oak is still alive. It suffered damage. But it survived. I built a bench beside it. Margaret's name is carved into the wood. Some mornings I sit there with coffee. Claire visits often now. No investigations. No permits. No courtrooms. Just family. The development is being rebuilt responsibly. The new HOA has apologized. The oak remains exactly where it belongs. Because water remembers something Patricia Chin forgot. Water doesn't care about money. Water doesn't care about power. Water only follows the truth. And the truth always flows downhill. If you've ever had someone try to weaponize nature against you, leave a comment below. Tell me what happened. Tell me how it ended. And if you enjoyed this story, subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Until next time, know your property line. Know your drainage. And remember, water always tells the truth. This has been Walter Grayson. Thanks for watching.